Going into Catch 22, I was expecting it to be one of the best books I've ever read. Back in 7th grade, we had a similar project to this where we had to choose a book within our independent reading groups and do assignments with it. I remember a group of kids in my class picking Catch 22, and they went on and on about how it was such a good war book and was overall a really enjoyable read that didn't feel as long as it looked. I'm not one who usually likes war books or movies for that matter, with the only exception being Dunkirk because Harry Styles is in it, but that's literally it. I'm really sad to report back that Catch 22 is not as good as I was promised, and I found that it was really hard to get into and enjoy. Although I did really like some of the crude humor and funny characters, I found it mainly to be sad, with the discussion of all the traumatizing experiences and characters feeling lost with who they are and what they believe in. Lots of the story focuses on how everything they're doing doesn't really matter and how the bureaucracy, which is what they call the government, is doing a good job of masking things over without them knowing. This is something I decided to base my book cover on. The colors of the cover come from the colors of the side of the war which the men are fighting for: red, white, and blue. The brown will make sense in a little bit when I talk about the symbols I included. That first symbol being the main focus, with the white man representing the soldier who is wrapped in a white gauze after death. He is constantly switched out with other dead soldiers, but no one ever really notices. This is super important to the story as all the soldiers begin to realize that the bureaucracy doesn't care for them. They believe that they are just out to get them and dehumanize them as much as possible, which really gets to their heads and helps them to contradict all the situations they go through. This is further discussed in the chocolate covered cotton situation, which I did my best to include in the bottom left corner of my book cover. This is another symbol of things being not as they seem, which also helps to play on the characters' feelings of worthlessness and confusion in why they are helping fight this war. Yossarian especially deals with an inner struggle of contradiction, with wanting to go home but also wanting to stay to help his friends out. He doesn't want to lose any more friends than he has to, but he also wants to go home and wants to keep himself out of situations which could kill him. This is where the idea of Catch-22, which basically just plays on contradiction and what you want to do and the reality of it, comes into play. Until they finally start to realize that it's not a real thing, although many of them believe it, it just helps to play into that feeling of worthlessness. As you just heard from this review, the book deals with some heavy topics, and in no way is it an easy read. But for people who enjoy the subject of war, I think this would be a perfect fit for you. I think that if I was a fan of war books, and maybe it wasn't so description based, I think I would really like it. But for me, I just found it was so hard to sit through such hard topics, with the book being as long as it is, and there not being as much positivity in it as I would have liked. I think that you really have to be a strong person who is okay with reading about these things. And if you do really like reading about these things, then I think Catch 22 would be the perfect fit for you.